Today is a special day. We celebrate the 8th of March, yes, the beginning of the Russian Revolution that brought about much suffering and pain and anguish through communism to much of Europe. Well, the parts of Europe people don't actually care about. I mean, who cares what happens east of Germany? Nobody. It's also International Women's Day, so let's celebrate it with the top 7 greatest female video game characters ever made. A list dedicated to some of the most fantastic, best, greatest female video game characters ever created in video game form. Now, according to marketing, there have been no female video game characters before 2014. You know, to capitalize on the whole video games didn't have female playable characters or female characters at all until we realized we can spin that as being a positive thing by saying we now support female video game characters in games that always had them, and somehow that's a novelty. But the games today are about female video game characters from all of history. Yes, even the one that's been rewritten. Just don't tell the Ministry of Truth what we're doing here, okay? Good. That being said, let's get it started with number 7, Samus Aran. Samus is 30 years old. She's one of the oldest recognizable video game characters ever made, and one of the pillars upon which Nintendo built its superb gaming library, and then they sort of dumped her in a closet and forgot about her for a long time. They occasionally pull her out with, at first, some great games, and then they did Other M, and now they basically co-opted her series to make Freedom Force and all sorts of other shit that no one cares about. But Samus Aran is still a great character. She is one of the archetypal silent protagonists that just does her job. A space bounty hunter. She hunts down space pirates, space pterodactyls, space brains, dinosaurs, aliens, and all sorts of other crazy things. She's a bit of a cyborg, at least that's what the manual says she's a he, so exactly how much of a cyborg she is, it's kinda not clear. She's also a bit alien. I mean, they spliced her with Metroid genes to save her life in Metroid Fusion. So you can say that she didn't have necessarily a great life. I mean, besides the fact that her parents were killed when she was little by space pirates, and she was raised by space chickens. She doesn't have much characterization in the first game. She does get some of it later on. She gets too much of it in the last game, actually. The wrong kind of characterization that sort of makes her look like, well, let's pretend Other M didn't exist. And besides that, she is a superb character. Like, she is basically a walking death machine, armed to the teeth with missiles for days. And a multifunctional costume that can do just about anything, from going into lava to turning her into a ball that spits out mines, letting her jump higher and higher and higher. Also, she can space jump and run through walls. She's basically super awesome. It's like Ripley from Alien if Ripley could punch the alien to death and then blow up their homeworld twice. Number 6, Cate Archer. There's been a lot of talk lately about why don't they make the next James Bond a woman, a female James Bond. Well, that would be Cate Archer. She is basically a female James Bond, a super spy with a classy British accent, though she's actually Scottish and used to be a cat burglar before becoming an agent, actually the first female field agent of the fictional spy association Unity, capable of doing astounding feats of espionage, of action, of just about anything that is required for Queen and country. Because no one lives forever, but evil never dies. And if you don't play nice, she'll put you on ice. And this game had an amazing soundtrack, and Cate Archer was a superb character. She was the star of both No One Lives Forever and No One Lives Forever 2, and could have probably been the main character of a larger series, with more games about espionage. But, you know, the rights for the games are so murky that no one knows who owns them. Like, literally, no one knows who actually owns them, so they can't be resold old, they can't be remastered, they can't be done anything with, leaving poor Cate Archer stuck in limbo. Which is very much a shame because she was a superb character, and who knows, if she wasn't stuck in limbo, maybe the current Archer series would have been about her. So come to think of it, maybe Mallory Archer is a retired Cate. I mean, she's a spy, and who knows what she could have gone through to become a complete and utter horrible human being during the years that passed since the last game ended. Also, I would like to highlight that we do in essence have a female James Bond, but no one cares about her. Because again, there were no female characters before 2014, 13, 12 something. In the past decade. Number 5. Shodan. Yes, she's a computer, but she speaks with a female voice. Even when she gets turned into herself, basically, she keeps the female voice. She periodically disguises herself as females and, well, spoilers, she possesses one at the end of the second game. So she probably identifies as female, and who are we to say she's not? Shodan is an outstanding character. She's the primordial insane AI when it comes to video games, much like HAL is for all sci-fi the basis of what an insane AI usually is seen as. Shodan is the template upon which just about every other AI in games was built upon. An entity that is not just insane but intelligent. So intelligent that everything she does to us seems cruel, monstrous, insane. But to her it isn't, because she just sees human beings as being pointless, something to be molded, something to be shaped into something that's actually glorious, not the muck that they are now. So that's her plan, to rebuild humanity, to construct a future that she will rule upon as a goddess. She's totally nuts. Yeah, no two ways about it. I mean, she tries to blow up the earth. She makes space zombies. But you gotta admit it, she is an intimidating sight. She's everywhere. Like, she's an AI. She is Skynet if Skynet had a personality. An evil one. Malevolent. Oppressing. Terrifying. And it's thanks to her, to the way she's personified, that we now have other characters, similar ones like GLaDOS. Well, technically I could probably put GLaDOS here with more justification because she was an actual woman that was turned into an AI, not necessarily with her consent, but let's just leave Shodan here instead. And I'm looking forward to seeing Shodan again in both the System Shock remake and in System Shock 3, because they're all gonna come in the next couple of years. Number 4. Kreia. Possibly one of the greatest characters in Star Wars ever created. Yes, she is at least on the same level as Kyle Katarn and his beard combined. You may be forgiven for not giving Kreia that much thought over the last couple of years, because her story, her motivations, just about anything regarding her is a bit muddled depending on when you played Knights of the Old Republic 2 The Sith Lords. Because that game was kinda buggy, and by kinda buggy I mean there was a chance that you could accidentally skip over some important plot details because some things did not trigger properly and scenes didn't make sense without some context, and things tended to get extremely confused to the point where if you reloaded a save you realized, oh my god, I've been playing a different game somehow. Now I don't know what's happening, what to do. It's all chaos. But the whole idea is that Kreia, which, spoiler, I'm gonna spoil the whole game for you right now. Kreia is the person you meet at the beginning of the game. She basically rescues your ass. And over the course of the game, she guides you. She gives you knowledge. She gives you advice. She is your mentor. She's the person that you rely on most for wisdom. And she's one of the Sith Lords that the game's title refers to. And throughout the entire game, she is manipulating you. She is trying to make you do her bidding. And succeeds. She gets you to kill the people that betrayed her. She gets you to reveal the others that betrayed her and then kills them. And at the end, she reveals herself as a Sith, and you can go and try to end her. Or at least try to understand her. Because what she wanted was a galaxy free of the Force, where fate was no longer decided by midichlorians, but by the will of actual people. Not by monstrosities with powers unconceivable, not by dogmatic orders, but by actual human beings and space Wookiees and, people in Star Wars in general. Now, to do that, you basically have to destroy the Force, and that may bring about some horrible consequences to everything that's alive, but hey, she had a good idea. It's just that it had some implications that maybe weren't that well thought out. So it was sort of like communism, only you actually get to stop her before instating communism and ruining Eastern Europe forever and half the world and present-day generations of students. It is without a doubt that Kreia is one of the greatest villains ever made. Yes, even better than Shodan. Number 3. April Ryan, or as her friends call her, April Bloody Ryan. Well, that's how Westhouse calls her when he's drunk. Though to be fair, he has reasons to get drunk. April Ryan is the main character of The Longest Journeys 1. I would have loved to say that she's the main character of the Longest Journey series, but in Dreamfall she's a playable character, but a secondary one. Zoe Castillo is the main character, and she appears in chapters. Ragnar, meet me in camera 2. Okay, we don't have a camera 2, but Ragnar, come on. Do a separate Kickstarter for that other Longest Journey game with April Ryan. You know what she deserves, right? I mean, she has really gotten the shaft in her life. She was an orphan. She got dropped by her dad and couldn't walk while she was a kid. She got better. The dad, seeing her getting better, considered it like some sort of insult and began abusing her. He was also getting drunk. He had issues. She ran away from home to become an artist, almost failed at becoming an artist. Basically, sort of almost got her friends killed while trying to run from the... well, they weren't space Nazis. They were just kind of a space fascists. That whole universe seemed a bit fascist to a point, honestly. And she gets dumped in a world that she knows nothing about and is told that, oh, by the way, you've had a shitty life, right? Okay, you're gonna sit in a tower for 1,000 years and talk to nobody. And before you do that, you have to save the world. But hey, at least you have a purpose now, right? You just have to abandon everything and everyone you know, if they're still alive. I mean, you did kind of sort of almost get them killed, as far as you know. So she goes out to save the world, and she does it. And at the end, at least, still, maybe being a guardian of 2 realms sitting in a tower for 1,000 years won't be that bad. And Psyche knows she's not gonna be in a tower. Someone else is gonna be there. And she basically gets dumped by fate out the window alone in the... well, she has Crow. April then goes a bit emo. To be fair, she has reasons to. She's not in a good place. She is in such not a good place that she turns from this caring, funny, upbeat girl to someone that can snap a soldier's head in the blink of an eye and then show no remorse. She's basically dead inside. And to continue with the spoilers, she gets a spear thrust to her chest and falls into the water and is believed to be dead for about a decade, because that's how long it took for the other games to come out. And the other games, it's a funny thing. It starts with her funeral, but I mean, she's April Ryan, right? There's a chance that she's still alive. I mean, she's the wave. She makes history. Like, events are created because of her. She's technically not actually completely dead, because she's kind of a dragon-ish kind of creature. Though she does get the shaft quite hard in Dreamfall chapters, because she only shows up in a couple of scenes as a ghost, as a memory. But everything's gonna be okay, fine, and dandy in the other game, right? In The Longest Journey Home, right? Right, Ragnar? Right? You're gonna make that game, right? At least you're gonna write a book about it, right? Right? Okay, glad we settled that. To make a long story short, which is kind of hard because it's The Longest Journey, so it's kind of long, April is a superbly written character. She is magnificent. About as popular as Laura Bow now. If you don't know who Laura Bow is, that's okay. She was a female character in adventure games, but no one remembers her because, again, it was before it became trendy, And by that I mean that not a lot of people actually know who April Ryan is anymore, sadly. But they know about Zoe. Oh, sure, they know about Zoe, but not April. Number 2, Lara Croft. When you think female video game character, Lara Croft is basically the de facto default character everybody just knows. She is a superstar of video games. She is as big a character as any other character in video games. She is the focal point of an entire franchise. One that had millions in marketing dumped into it. One that had 2 movies made after it. Comics. Not a TV series, but it was a cartoon series on the internet. Lara Croft at one time was just absolutely everywhere. They went insane with the marketing on her. Like, they made roses or tulips or something Lara Croft branded. Eidos, again, went insane. But hey, thanks to Eidos going insane, Lara Croft just exploded. Yeah, Samus Aran was, up until then, a somewhat well-known video game character. She is nothing compared to Lara Croft. Originally, Lara Croft was sort of a female Indiana Jones, but not entirely. She did have one other defining characteristic that set her apart. She was British, and I mean proper aristocratic British. She was high class, high society. She could drink tea with the Queen one day and then punch your lights out and shoot you in the head the other one. She was an accomplished gymnast, a renowned archaeologist, probably had her home burned down a couple of times by animal activists, and she was coolness personified. And also, she was a bit of a cartoon, like in the way she looked. I don't think too many people actually caught onto this, and then they just kept saying that she's an unrealistic representation of the female form, which yeah, I kind of agree with. I mean, it's kind of hard to represent the female form with, what was it, 20 polygons? But she was basically a cartoon. That's how she was made to look like. And that cartoon aesthetic didn't really change up until the new games when they did try and make her more realistic. In terms of appearance, I mean, because as a character they just completely ruined her, like totally. Old Lara Croft, like in the original canon, she was Tomb Raiding since she was a kid. Since she was 14 or 15, she didn't need some traumatic experience on an island when she was 20 to become a survivor. By survivor, I mean she killed about 100 people, but cried when she killed a deer. In between these, by the way, the original series and the reboot, there was another series of Tomb Raider games, beginning with Legend and ending with Underworld, where she was still kind of a cartoon, but as a character she was a lot more human, a lot more realistic, a lot more palpable. She was still proper British, proper posh British aristocrat, but a bit unhinged due to, you know, having lost her mother when she was young, when their plane crashed in the Himalayas, having to fend for herself, and then spending most of her life trying to find her mother again, and almost bringing about the apocalypse while looking for her. To be fair, she brought about the apocalypse every other week, but now she actually had a reason to do so, a personal one that was so... you could feel her emotions through the screen, through the acting, and she didn't just cry by a fire. She would scream, she would emote, she would yell in anger, in frustration, in rage, you know, behaving like an actual human being, not a Terminator that's just programmed to sob a bit when they kill deers. No, I did not play Rise of the Tomb Raider. And number 1 is Sarah Kerrigan. Why Sarah Kerrigan and not the others? Well, it's probably because of the way she evolved over time. Samus was always a hero, Cate was always a hero. Well, she started out as a thief. Shodan was always a villain. Kreia went back and forth, though she was mainly a villain. She basically did everything for villainy. No one really cares about April Ryan. And Lara Croft got a bit shafted in the last couple of years. But Kerrigan just bloomed. She started out as a ghost, as a specialist, an infiltration, and assassination. She also had amazing psychic powers that they actually had to limit by stapling something to the back of her neck. I mean, her powers were kind of out of control. She made her mom's head unravel by accident. So yeah, there's your childhood trauma, and then she became a soldier for the Confederacy? Yeah, I think that was it. Doing all sorts of unsavory things, and then she was betrayed and became a new creature. An entity of the Swarm. The Queen of Blades to be. And when the Overmind was killed, she became the ruler of the Zerg. She gathered up the forces of the gathered Zerg and molded them into her image, she became the most terrifying thing in the galaxy. Well, in the Kaprulo sector. She burned worlds, she infested, she colonized, she destroyed, she brought about the apocalypse. Or averted it. I have to say I haven't played past Wings of Liberty, so I don't actually know. But she is such a good character. She's complex, she's layered, she's been ripped off by Blizzard themselves with Arthas. And come to think of it, BioWare also rips her off constantly with Aribeth and then with what's-her-face, Bastila, which were kind of the same thing, the same kind of heel turn. And then there was that character from Heroes of Might and Magic 5 that did the same, but that really was kind of a not very good game in terms of story. But what is good is Kerrigan. She is possibly the greatest female video game character ever made, and one of the greatest, period. Not saying that she is the absolute greatest, there may be others that I missed, but she is one of the best. I'd like to give a few special mentions to characters like GLaDOS, again, very, very superb character. The Glory from Shadowrun Dragonfell, who has a story that's, has a backstory that sort of makes Kerrigans look like a walk in the park. To Konoko from Oni, and to Elena Sedai, or whatever her name is pronounced, from the Wheel of Time game. Yeah, you know there was a Wheel of Time game? It was an amazing game. No one played it. Again, it was made before 2014, so it doesn't matter that it had a great female character in it. And if you don't know what I keep referring to with 2014, there was this PR piece of crap going about at around the release of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where I believe it was the agent of Victoria Atkin, who played Evie Fry in Syndicate, who sent emails to people about interview opportunities with Victoria Atkin, who was playing, and I quote, the first female assassin in the series, which was not true, and one of the first female leading roles for any video game. Really? Really? First, you say. We're gonna glance over the fact that you could play as a female character in just about every goddamn game since Mud on the PDP-10 and probably even before that. But no, that bit of history is not acceptable to the party, and now we're probably at war with East Asia. So that would be it for the top 7 greatest video game characters ever made that also happen to be female. I look forward to the hate mail. Thank you for watching this show. If you enjoyed it, please consider watching some of our other videos and maybe sharing them or giving a thumbs up if you feel like it. And if you really liked what you saw, please check out our Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you could help us make much better shows and get some rewards in the process. Or you could consider buying my book called Tale of Doom. Volume 1 is out now and available for just $2. And as always, if you thought it was horrible, you know where to find me and complain about it.